For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated. More often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the E.T. Stand Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the E.T. Stand. Knights fans, look, you're already not paying attention to the season, aren't you, Adrian?
No, we aren't actually. I think Dylan Brown can't come quick enough, if I'm brutally honest. So eyes are on to next season.
Fair enough. All right, welcome to the E.T. Stand Podcast, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast that lets us talk into the football. This is an opposition fan preview with our friend Adrian, who actually joined us last year. We previewed the, at the time, 1918 win for the Sharkies over the Knights at the time without ridiculous rulings around the blockers. This match preview is brought to you by Miranda Hotel. If you're not able to get to the game, you want to take advantage of those $7 schooners and $12 margaritas during all NRL matches, get down to Miranda Hotel. They're near the old Miranda Fair or Westfield. Let's get into it. Adrian Manca, Knights super fan and also Blues super fan. We're just talking about that too. The Sharkies fans, we don't care for the Origin, whereas you just love the Origin, don't you?
I absolutely love the Origin. I think when you're a Newcastle supporter, you don't have much love during the season. You can focus on something else. So, and your weird philosophy, which we won't get into, drives me absolutely bonkers, Boldo. And I could rant about that, but I think that's for another time.
I think it is. All right. Well, look, the Cronulla Sharks take on the Newcastle Knights, who won their first two matches, and we're sitting there on top of the table. And then since then have barely scored a point, having lost to the West Tigers, 20 points to 4. Now, the previous week to that, 20 points to 0, not registering a point, and then 26 to 6 against the Titans. It's not looking good for you, mate.
No, it's ordinary at the moment. I think we scored 8 points in the last couple of games. I think so. Attack's a massive problem.
What's the issue?
Look, I don't think we've had our halves locked down for the last few years. It's the same old story. I think with the Knights is in terms of attacks boring. There's no flair. I think you stop Ponga, you stop Newcastle. It's pretty simple at the end of the day. So he's sweeping plays out the back. You have players on him, and we just struggle to create anything. So game plan wise, it is very ordinary. Like if you watch us play, we get the ball, we kick to the corners, and we just try and grind it out. But you can't win games like that in the NRL. Like look at all the top of the teams. Like they just have absolute flair, which we don't.
Yeah, you mentioned the halves. You've got Jack Cogger and Hastings floating around on the bench there. Are they coming back into this team, or is it a case of one in, one out? Like, who's the first choice?
I don't think there is a first choice. I think first choice was originally Jack Cogger at the start of the season. He had a couple of good games, then obviously fell off the wagon a little bit, was injured last game. They put Phoenix Crosland there last week, which is weird because he's much better 9. I don't think Brayley is a dead set starting 9 anymore. I think he's definitely a utility player. And they didn't pick Hastings, which I think it's a story that's kind of just flown under the radar. He's on big money. Obviously, something isn't right in terms of him working at the Knights, but he's your true 7. Like if you were a coach, and look, Adam O'Brien needs wins. He doesn't need losses. And I don't think he can rest on his laurels and hope next year when we get some new players and new reinforcements that he'll be safe. If I was the coach, I'd be picking Hastings. I think he's your true 7. Gamble is a 6 or a back rower at best. So are we really interested to see who takes over the kicking? Because Fletcher Sharp's not a kicker, he's a ball runner. So I think out this weekend our attack's going to be as ordinary as last week and maybe even worse.
Well, I say if you have two halfbacks, then you don't really have any. So you haven't really answered that question for us. All right. Fletcher Sharp, who came out on our show on Tuesday night, is apparently really fast. Is he as fast as our reports are suggesting?
He's pretty quick. Yeah, he's lightning in space. So I would say he's probably the quickest in the team. Followed a little bit by Ponga. ball running 6. So yeah, once he gets ball in hand, he's lightning. So it's whether or not you give him the space is obviously going to be the key to the game. So, but to be fair, he's been a little bit down in form as well. So he's had a couple of good games at the start of the year, but they've just got no confidence in the attack. So I think it's just affecting all facets of kind of the game when we've got the ball in hand trying to score.
Injuries for the forwards. I noticed when I was looking at the bench makeup, a lot of second rowers expected to play middle forward minutes.
Yeah.
What's missing, or do you just not have the troops in your team?
So I think we're down Jacob Safidi. So he tore his hammy, I believe, just before the Bulldogs game as he was running out. So he's obviously a big cog in the pack. Look, the pack's light on. So Frizzell's usually back rower, probably plays a bit of lock. You've got Adam Elliott, who's also out. So we are running lean. I think the team probably misses Dylan Lucas. Who's a back rower, runs really good line, really aggressive. I think we're really missing him. The worry for us on the weekend is going to be the middle. Like, we're going to get beaten up by your forward. So we are very light on. We have lots of back rowers playing out of position in the front row. So I think, yeah, that's where the game, there's a potential weakness to be exploited there. I think we got done last weekend down the middle. The Bulldogs are pretty good against us. They did dominate the game. We defended all right. But, yeah, last week was a shit show. It was horrible viewing.
Well, at least you're not getting blown out. So without, huge possession counts, 20-0 versus the Bulldogs, 20 points to 4 against the West Tigers. It's not all bad. You actually got quite a good defensive unit.
To be fair, Adam O'Brien is renowned for being a really good defensive coach. So I think defensively we're doing all right, but it's the same old story with the attack. Like, I think you've got to be able to score points. Like the last few weeks, we haven't even been able to score 2 tries. So I think that the attack's got to be a focus. And I know they say, defense wins games, but I just think you've got to show a little bit more variety in attack. You just can't keep kicking to the corners, hoping the other team spill the ball up, and then you score when you're close down to their end. So there's got to be some creativity. At the moment, it's very pedestrian. It's very flat. Maybe they just need to have a good week where they get a bit of possession, score a couple of tries, and then it flows. But yeah, at this point in time, it's very pedestrian. It's very flat, very predictable if you're the defensive side.
You mentioned Jaden Brayley. He's obviously popular in the Shark circles, given that Blake Brayley plays for us. Is he really not good enough to make your team now, Jaden Brayley, in the starting team?
To be fair, I think when he was injured, Phoenix Crossland turned into an amazing 9. So I think defensively he's great. He's great out of dummy half. So I think, look, Brayley is getting a little. How old's Brayley now? He'd be what? 30?
No, he's not pushing too much. A 30 he might be 27, 28.
You reckon?
Well, he started playing for us in that 2017 year, so maybe he is a bit older than that, actually.
Yeah. Look, to be fair, he's great when he needs to come in, but in terms of we've got the younger player in terms of Phoenix Crossland. I think Jaden comes in, provides a bit of a spark off the bench, which you kind of want your utility players to do. So, look, he's been a good servant. I think he'll keep playing well for us. He's obviously signed for the Raiders for the next couple of years. But look, he's tried his heart out with us. He's just been in a bit of a crappy team, let's be honest. So, and he's been injured a bit. He got injured quite a bit. So I think that's obviously hurt him a little bit in terms of his place in the side over the last few years.
Also, furthermore on that, so you guys are running with a second hooker on the bench. Now, we talked on our show on Tuesday night about the selection of Atkinson and how he doesn't cover hooker. And I made a comment at the time that I thought, well, maybe we don't get enough running out of Blake Brayley. And so I went and looked at all of the different NRL teams from last weekend, and a whole bunch of them are running with hookers on the bench, including the Tigers, who've got Appy Coruscant.
Yeah.
Sharky's running an 80-minute Blake Brayley. Today's modern NRL is an opposition fan looking at the Sharks. Is that the right thing to do, you think, or not?
To be fair, I'm not a huge fan of running 2 dummy halves on the bench. Like, I think the game since I've watched
so many teams do it.
They do it because they obviously want the freshness out of it. Depends, because the problem is the ball is in play so much more than it ever has before with all the set restarts. So there's obviously a little bit of extra fatigue that's getting into the game that probably wasn't there before. So I think they're looking to get that spark, get that instant energy. I'm the fan of not having 2 9s because I think you need to have I think you need to have more middles or you need to have more back rowers. I think if you win the middle of the field and you dominate, then your attack flows off the back of that. So, yeah, I don't mind having just a 9 playing 80 minutes. That's what they should be doing. Every 9 used to play 80 minutes. So Cameron Smith never not played 80 minutes.
But he was the best 9 ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, but if you look, Benny Elias was a good 9. Yeah, Denny Badiris was a good 9. So I don't think
they're like the quality Steve Walters. They're like the top guys.
Well, Cam Smith's number 1, obviously.
Well, he's not better than Dean Treaster, but yeah, he's pretty good.
But obviously one-eyed, and then Danny Badiris was pretty good.
Danny Badiris was quite good.
Danny Badiris would have been the best if Cam Smith wasn't there. So, look,
Danny Badiris got unseated Lee Jackson, didn't he? He was pretty good, Lee Jackson.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was not bad. But Danny was very good 9. But look, I don't mind having a 9 play 80 minutes. Like I think
if you have a really good quality one, sure.
Yeah, but your Brady's pretty good for you guys. Like
is he better than Happy Coruscant?
Ooh, they're different players.
Yeah, well, the Tigers are running with a hooker on the bench. So I just think if it's good for them. Anyway, something to think about.
True, but the Tigers got their player on the bench is a good 9. He's a good young 9 coming through. So obviously you want to blood him and they see. So it goes to the point. If you've got a 9 who should be in your first team, but he can't, at least you carry him on the bench. Your talent should be on the bench in terms of regardless of what it is. But I would like to have back rows and front rows. I wouldn't really want a number 9.
All right, well, let's dig on that. So looking at the Sharks team, we'll come back to your Knights team in a second. Your talent should be on the bench. Is Daniel Atkinson talented enough that he should be on our bench? Because the Sharks fans have been enormously critical, especially one-eyed podcast host calling for the fact that we got a 5'8" coming on and playing 10 minutes at best every week.
Is he averaging 10 minutes?
Yeah, he's not playing too many minutes.
What's the coach's philosophy around it?
No, he hasn't been asked, and the press haven't really gone after him yet. But I'm thinking, and let's see if it happens this weekend. I'm convinced that an NRL commentator will have watched our podcast and said, "Oh, Daniel Atkinson on the bench." We'll see if they're paying attention. I don't know. I just don't love it for us. And I just think back to your point on the middle forwards. We have Sifa Talakai, Toby Rudolph, and Tom Hazelton. They are like seriously big dudes coming off the bench.
That's my worry. You've got Fanua Blake, like you've got Rudolph, you've got Hazelton, you've got Kafusi, Nakora. Geez, it worries me seeing that in terms of running down the middle of the field and like we've got some back rows playing up front. Like the only thing is if you're winning games, does it really matter?
Yeah, we're not winning games.
You won your last one. You
should have
mate. You should have beat the Raiders. That was ridiculous. But anyway,
I should have beaten the Raiders, and we're closer against
that. But look, I don't mind carrying he can obviously play more than 6 though. So
he can play 6 and 7 and
exactly it's there to cover. So it's a good cover if you get injuries, but also your bench is pretty strong with Talakai. Like he would start in most teams, yeah. Toby Rudolph would probably start in most teams. Hazelton,
well, basically our entire bench would start in your team.
Well, yeah, true. Hazelton, in a shit team.
Hazelton would make your team. Daniel Atkinson would be in the halves. Yeah, that entire. In fact, if we were to name a Sharks Knights team, I think only
Ponga for sure.
Ponga for sure.
Bradman
Best is because we've obviously got Kaeliro out, so Bradman Best is going to get in there.
Yeah,
and then beyond that,
Greg Marzu's not a bad winger. He runs the ball really hard.
Yeah, well, we've got he might be able to get past Stone Street, but if we had Katoa and Mulatalo, who are the 2 best wingers in the league.
True. And then look, your 7, Nicho. Look, maybe next year.
Oh, don't you go bashing Nicho again.
I defended him the last podcast we chatted about. But yeah, look, if you were to combine teams, look, you're definitely going heavier on the old Sharks players than the Knights players. So
that's true. That's true. So this bench of the Knights, Tyrone Thompson, a second rower, or like what are these guys?
So he's a front rower.
He's a front row. McEwen.
Tyrone McEwen is back row.
And Brody
Jones back row, but he's been playing middle. And then we obviously know Brayley's a 9. So the Thompson are brothers. So Leo's obviously going to Canterbury next year, which is a bit disappointing. His brother Tyrone came from Rugby Union. He's not too bad. I think he's only signed for this year, so we'll see how he goes. So I think the one player that I probably like watching is Thomas Cant. So young back rower, works really hard.
Unfortunate name.
It is a very unfortunate name if you pronounce it incorrectly.
He must have confidence issues, that
Rolls
guy.
off the tongue, doesn't it? Rolls off the tongue.
You're a cat.
But
That's terrible.
no, he's a good young player, works really hard, so I enjoy watching him play. So yeah, ours is kind of benches similar to yours. It's middles or back rowers, but definitely
Well, all the benches are that.
lacking the size that you guys have on the bench.
All the benches are that. All right. Well, what do you make of the Sharks this year? Final round out on them.
For the year, you reckon? It's a tough one. Their season's very early. I think you
Do we
guys.
win?
No.
Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
I think you'll be top 4. I think you'll be up there. I think I obviously like your coach. I think Fitzy knows what he's kind of doing. He's come from a really good system. So, yeah, I think you guys would definitely be up there, top 4. Anything happens, you just need that double chance. You get what I mean? So, Melbourne look red hot. Red hot.
They do.
Brisbane, if they click, they've got the talent. Everyone's riding off Penrith. Mate, Penrith will make the 8. Anyone who plays Penrith in the semi-finals will be shitting themselves. So Penrith will
Shark, you're going to hear it first, Vanka. I'm going to get the receipts. Sharks are going to knock out the Panthers in the finals this season.
Jeez, you don't want to play them. You want
I think we do.
You want to avoid.
We want to improve. I just think they don't have the skill players in the positions for the technical layout. Cronk and Matty Johns are going through it. They're just not quite up to it. So, but we'll see.
It's an early season, but look, I think Sharks will go well. I think you guys have got the talent to do it. Your issue's going to be your halves. I think that's going to be the trouble. I think that's where I would say your weakness lies. But we'll see how the season goes.
Nicho bashing again.
No, look, I think Nicho's a great player. I think he's just a confidence player. I think when he has a few bad games, it seems to dwell, hangs over his head a little bit. I think, he just needs to play consistently, and I think you guys will go all right, but confidence is going to be his issue. If you guys go through a bit of a bad spell, 3 or 4 losses on a row, and he's not playing very well, geez, the drums will be beating, especially on this podcast. You guys will be beating them down.
Oh, I don't know. This podcast's typically pretty pro Nicho, actually. So
is it a pro Nicho podcast?
Yeah, it's not the Nicho Hines podcast though. It's not like the We Love Nicho podcast, but we are pretty positive about Nicho most of the time, if we're totally candid. We did a video ranking every single NRL premiership winning halfback, which is a subject that I love going through and discussing. And we placed Nicho, if the Sharks were to win this season, where would he sit? And he's obviously above the bottom tier of Polamaunta, Chad, and Shane Perry. But the next tier was Ben Hornby and Craig Wing. So I only really say that he's as good as those premiership winning halfbacks. And then every other premiership winning halfback is better than him. So it's, we need a bit of improvement. You're not wrong. No.
What do you think? What are your chances? You guys quietly confident in the season?
Coming into the season, I was thinking we'll make the prelim final again. And whoever we play in the prelim final, we will be closer to that team than we were the Panthers last season. Yeah. I thought it would probably be the Panthers again, just the way that it would shake out. But I actually think we would be able to get past the Panthers in the week 2 of the finals or week 1. And then we'll face a Broncos or a Bulldogs or a Storm, I think, in week 3.
Yeah, I forgot about the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are great, but the Bulldogs are half away from being a contender. Like that's going to be that's their weakness. You got take the 7 out. They're just they are struggling big games, but defensively they're playing amazingly well. So
we're inspired from last season's knockout when they thought they were going to get past Manly. So they're still smarting from that a little bit and have come out.
Yeah, and all of it's going to come down to injuries as well. Like I think
injuries.
And Origin's painful because that's where you lose players with injuries.
Oh, the Sharks this year, Manca, Adrian, no Sharks players. Just going back to this Sharks team, actually. Do you give any Sharks player a chance of getting picked in Origin? I'd say none.
The only one I think you might is maybe Jesse Ramian. He's if he picks up his form, he's been
in shocking form.
Yeah, but it's still a little while away. So I don't think Mulatalo can't play for Queensland.
Otherwise, he would have been picked.
He would have been picked for sure. Talakai, I think he's past his prime when he played for New South Wales. That was when he was peak.
And
maybe
McInnes isn't good enough either.
You don't reckon?
No.
He's the type of player perfect for Origin, though. Like, he
No,
does
if
not
he was
mind.
Queensland, he would have played a lot of games, but for New South Wales, yeah.
Who knows what Laurie's going to do? But I think, McInnes is probably the closest one to being picked based on the style of Origin, which is a grind, tackle, extra effort. You don't mind if you get yourself beat up in the face, which Cameron does every single week. I think he's probably the closest one there for sure.
I think that's probably. I reckon you're too generous there. I don't think the Sharks will have any New South Wales.
The
Origin
Knights will have two. They'll have Ponga and Best.
Yeah, best will probably get picked.
Best
But you
will
don't know.
play,
They always change up the centres in the Origin teams, don't they?
Yeah, I think Ponga will play. I think Ponga will I think Walsh will be one, and I think Ponga will be off the bench. I think they'll pick both of them.
Yeah, Ponga's too good not to play. Back to you,
too good not to play. Put him on when there's a bit of fatigue in the game. He'll either play black row. He'll sweep around, extra ball player. He doesn't mind a bit of tackling in the middle if he had to. He did that in his Origin debut. So yeah, he'll play, and that's what the problem. He'll play really well there. They'll win
and
the
then get
series
injured.
or something, and then he'll go back to Newcastle and we'll be running spoon or bottom two, and he will play shit out. So
that's not going to happen.
It just shows if you put good cattle around good players, they actually perform really well. So that's what we need. We need good cattle. We don't have it at the moment.
All right, give us a tip. Who's going to win?
Oh, it's up at the Hunter. I reckon it'll be. You guys aren't high scoring at the moment. I reckon it'll be 20-18 Cronulla.
So only win by 2 points, despite all that. Despite all that, the fact that you haven't scored points for weeks, you've been calling your team absolutely hopeless. And the Sharks are top 4 bound, and we got our captain's going to make the Origin team. We're still only going to win by 2.
I think the dam will break with our attack. We'll get a few tries, and then I think it'll be a close contest at the end. But who knows? Look, I think if you go on form, you guys should win easily. I think based on how you guys are playing versus us, it should be an easy win for you. But look, stranger things have happened. Upsets do happen.
Setting it up purposely, just so you can take the upset and ring me up or send me a text message or taunt me come Sunday afternoon. That's what you're
doing. There's not a lot of taunting coming from this camp when you're borderline 1-2 games and you're counting the buy as a win.
That's true. Who can score a try for the Knights? If you're on a first try score or anytime try score.
First try score, Greg Marzu.
Yeah, fair enough.
Easily got to be in your multi as an anytime try scorer.
Gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly. And Kalen's been pretty quiet. Kalen hasn't crossed the line. He's had to be fair.
So don't bet on Kalen. Actually, he typically does well against us.
He does play pretty well against you guys. And to be fair, he's been down a little bit the last couple of weeks. He had some shocking drops last week with the ball in hand. So let's see how we go. I think my biggest thing to look at as a Knights fan is how does that combination of Gamble and Sharp really work? Or is there going to be a late change where he puts Cogger in 7 and then Gamble drops to the bench? There could be a late change. I think it's very odd Gamble going. It just shows Adam O'Brien has no faith in his 7. He has no faith in terms of who he's going to pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Cogger enter the team last minute and maybe they shuffle the bench around and move, because I'm staggered they don't have a number 7. I think Gamble could play back row if they needed him to.
All right, fair enough. Well, the Sharkies are 4 from 5 against the Knights in the last 5 matches, so you'd have to be pretty confident. All right, well, thanks for your tip. Last question.
Yeah.
All-time favourite Knights and Sharks player that played for both teams. And you know who my least favourite, my all-time least favourite player that's played for both teams. You definitely know the answer to that, or I think you can guess.
Is it Morris? John Morris?
He's not my least favourite. No, my least favourite would have to be Matthew Johns, that's played for both.
I forgot.
My least favourite.
He might have been the worst signing in Sharks history. So
he is the worst signing in Sharks history.
Ordinary. Look, it'd have to be Darren Albert.
I was going to say Darren
Albert. Darren Albert was lightning quick. So Darren Albert,
even by the time he got to us, he was lightning quick.
He was lightning quick. I think he actually played pretty well for you guys.
He did. He had a couple of good years for us.
Yeah, a couple of good years. He wasn't a stinker. Yeah, I'd definitely say Darren Albert. I thought he was fantastic. To be fair, John Morris, he was a good servant to the game. probably not the most skillful player.
Maybe
but
the least talented 300 match player, John Morris. Maybe Chris Heinington.
I was literally just going to say Chris Heinington was pretty ordinary. Pretty ordinary, but Heinington's got 2 rings, 2 premierships.
He's got 2 premierships.
So he's doing much better.
Which is one more than Joey. Oh, no, hold on. Joey's got 2.
Joe's got 2. Joe's got
1.5.
Maddie's got 1. Maddie's got 1. Why have you got 1.5?
The Super League one.
The Super League one. Oh, yeah, fair.
Couldn't even beat the Sharks that year. Like, come on.
Yeah, but to be fair, Darren Albert, I would say, has probably been the best across both teams. So, really good player. Great. Lightning quick. Great finisher.
There we go. Lightning quick. All right. Well, that was the match preview brought to you by Miranda Hotel. Reminder to get down for the $7 schooners down there at Miranda. I'm sure if you live close to Miranda Hotel, you'd get down for a $7 schooner. Wouldn't you, Adrian? This was the ET Stand podcast. Keep an eye out for us for the debrief. We'll be live about half an hour after full time. Once the Matty John show stops talking about anything Sharks related, we'll go live. It'll be probably me live with Franco. And in the meantime, I'm tipping a Sharks win. I think I said 32 points to 8 was my prediction. I'm pretty confident.
I hope
pretty
that
confident.
backfires.
We'll see. All right, we'll see you next time, guys. This was the ET Stand Up Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.